We've already been there several times. Yeah.
We're stuck at 30%. Oh, 60%. Okay. I think we're live. Hold on. Let me check.
Yeah.
And streams out live, so
Here we are. We are live, and we're doing it different today. Can you guys hear me now?
I got you.
We got you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. I hope everyone can hear us. I think we're live. Hold on. Let me check.
We'll find out pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everyone can hear us. People are
Everyone
pissed
can-
off that it's already taken 14 minutes.
We had to,
Oh, we had to handle business.
Streams out live.
Here we go. Well,
Do
Justin,
we are official.
Justin, I think this is your intro again.
You want me to intro? Man, I could go on forever introducing this guy. So, how do I introduce Matt Nickerson? So, if you guys don't know who Matt Nickerson is the man behind Vaso 6, one of the ingredients that has made a lot of noise over the last year or two in the supplement industry. So, a lot of times we have brands on here, we'll have retailers, but what a lot of people don't understand is the process behind that there are people behind these actual ingredients that come to market sometimes. And a lot of people ask about trademarks and non-trademarks and what's the difference and stuff like that. So we have the man behind one of these ingredients with us today, our good friend, Matt Nickerson.
Happy to be here. It's a privilege. It's an honor. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
What are we doing?
I feel like there's so much, like there's so many different ways we can take this. I don't even know which way
I know, like we never have a plan. It's like I've known Matt for so long. Like at this point, it seems like forever. It's like we have so many great conversations. Like, where do we start, man?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so Matt, because one of the things that like when I first got into this industry was exactly what I was just saying. You see all these ingredients. I'm telling people, look at the fucking label, look at the ingredients, read about this stuff. But what you don't understand is there are people that are behind some of these ingredients, right? Bringing these ingredients to market and stuff like that. Like, you don't come from the supplement industry. That's one thing you and I have in common. We came from outside the space. So, like, how do we even, like, in 2 hours sum up your journey from all the crazy shit that you were doing in your life to getting into this wild ass industry? Is there like a way you can sum up all this insanity within just like a few minutes? Because your story is incredible, man. I mean, I'm a huge fan. So, like, take us back as far as you want and just kind of do your thing and just wow us with this insane, awesome story.
Away we go. And thank you for the intro, brothers. So the very first interview I ever did was with Snoop. And the cool thing is he and I kind of came into this industry roughly at the same time. We became entrepreneurs roughly at the same time. So there's a lot of synergies and a lot of shared scars with our relationship and how it's just developed over the years. He saw me when I was brand new. He saw a meteoric rise, and then he saw a crash and burn, and now he's seeing it come back, and so it goes. And a lot of people always put a lot of emphasis on, oh my God, you're controversial, you got sued and this, and I'm like, name me one major brand in the world that hasn't been fucking sued. Every brand I know is in the middle of a lawsuit. And the problem is with a lot of people, they don't really take due process into account. And I'll never forget, one of my mentors actually said to me, when you've made it is when people start suing you. And I've often told people, we didn't get sued because we didn't work. We get sued because we did. And that was a threat to many different spaces, many different people. It's because we were making a splash for all the right reasons. Now, that said, I don't mean to digress, but the way that I came up synergistically to bring it all together is, at my core, I'm an athlete. I fancy myself an athlete. I'm not a bodybuilder of any kind. You guys would outlift me in every measurable event that there possibly could be. But I'm in good shape and I can hold my own, and I've got a good variety of range in my arsenal. I was a football, baseball, basketball, track, kickboxing, all those different types of things. And I was never really good academically. That's not where I was strong until I got to college and I actually had teachers tap into the things I cared about learning about. And then all of a sudden school started making sense to me. Now, in that time, I got to learn a lot about anatomy and physiology, how things work, and I got recruited into the medical device space. So I got to utilize a little bit of my let me start over. I got to peek behind the curtain and go into the operating room, and that's where I would sell tableside into traumas. And I saw some horrific things. I saw some funny things. And shit, I need to tell that story at some point too.
How about right now?
Yeah, so the first trauma call that I ever got called to, it happened at about 2 a.m. And so what had happened had already happened.
How old are you at this point?
I'm 28.
Okay.
I'm 28 years old. And so my phone rings in the middle of the night, and it was a trauma call, and I've got to go to University of New Mexico Hospital because there's a compound dislocation of a woman's right arm. And I thought, well, that sounds odd. I said, do they mean fracture? And they're like, no, it's a dislocation. I was like, fascinating. I can't wait to see it. And so I zip on over there. I go to the hospital. The patient's being prepped for surgery. And it was tricky because the patient was about 430 pounds. And the doctor's telling me, and he's very somber, he's like, she was out horseback riding. And I was like, okay. So the horse bucked her off. And her elbow and wrist were in the extension position. So so basically the dislocation happened at the elbow, and it popped right through the other side 90 degrees the wrong way. And when I'm going back there and I'm looking at it, it looks like a buffalo chicken wing. There's this big, huge, large bloody mass and this perfectly beautiful, white, pristine bone. And I'm looking at it, and it's hanging on by 1.5 inches of straight fat. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here yet. Like, you guys want me to help fixate this with an external fixation device, which is going to require screws and rods and all that stuff. But I'm like, I don't even know how we're going to reattach this. I'm looking at the vascular network, and she's got a strong pulse, surprisingly, which is very weird. But I remember the doctor was just like, God, that poor horse. Just right in the middle of the surgery, he's just talking about this poor horse that just bucked this woman off. And so I remember thinking, I think I'm going to like this industry. I think I'm going to like working in med device and poking my head behind the curtain and seeing what goes on in an operating room, how doctors speak, how the academic world works, and get a better understanding of anatomy, physiology, and the inner workings of medical devices, what we use to heal people. And that got me down the rabbit hole of medicine and natural medicines. And I'm actually going to ask you guys the question because I'm curious, and we can circle back to it in a moment, but everyone has kind of a first experience with supplements. What do you first remember about the first supplements you took? What got you into them? Why do you even care about it? And for me, I've never taken them. I didn't believe in them. I thought they were snake oil, large in part. And that actually kind of started pissing me off. And like most entrepreneurs, you can usually channel that anger towards something, a problem that you see in the ether, and turn it into something that you can fix. And that's really what entrepreneurialism is you see a problem, you try to fix it. Mm. And so for me, I'm like, okay, I've learned a lot about business. I've learned a lot about medicine. I've learned a lot about academia. And I'm an athlete. How can I tie all that in together? And that's when I started poking around and really digging into some of the science behind what makes things work. And I'm finding there's not an overwhelming amount of emphasis placed on science. People think there is, but there's really not. And I'm telling people openly, like, my company, my brand, my product has a long way to go. And that's what most people don't understand is from the industry that I came from, doctors refer to what they do as the practice of medicine because they're never finished learning. It's never finished evolving. You have to continue to just grow along with it. And for me, I launched my product. It does well, but I'm still learning about it. I'm still figuring out what makes it do what it does, what other pathways I can venture down. And oftentimes people are like, well, what are you looking for? I said, I can give you a very basic general answer, but at the end of the day, just like a detective at a crime scene, I have to follow the clues. I have to follow the evidence and see what we're affecting in the body under tension, under stress, under pressure, systolic, dynamic, sedentary, all these different things. And so admittedly, I'm a small startup company. I've launched Q4 2017. And so I've only been on the scene for a couple of years. And I can't even count 2019 because that was just the mass exodus of ASO 6. When the company got dragged through the mud. And so I feel like I'm starting over again and kind of rebuilding the brand and the integrity of the brand. But the point is, it's all about a continued evolution of figuring out what it is you have, how you can make it better, how you can make it adaptable, how you can make it more inclusive to other things aside from just sports nutrition, pre-workouts, food and beverage, nutraceutical, all of it. And so when I decided to take the plunge and go into business for myself, I wanted to immerse myself in the academia community. And then I started scouring through patents that had collected dust over many years and seeing what made sense to me. And I came across a couple that stuck out to me, and they were relative to the things that, Base 06 has today. And I said, this is good, but it's not, there's just so much to work with here. And so I set about really putting this through the ringer in preclinical trials, animal and cellular. In fact, that reminds me, let me clear the air right now. A lot of people talk about Base 06 is grapeseed and Base 06 is this and that, and the patent, it's never been grapeseed. And the reason it's never been grapeseed is because when I did my animal cellular assays, we saw that it performed very negatively, almost lethally on canines. And so I wasn't about to launch a product into the world that could actually kill dogs. And so I pivoted into green tea extract, or green tea leaf rather, as my source material, because it was safe. It wasn't going to harm feline, canine, equine, porcine. All those things aren't going to be affected negatively or lethally with my green tea extract. So
that warmed my heart.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we've talked so much about this over the years, and that part, I didn't even know that. I knew that there was a pivot from grapeseed into green tea and all that stuff, but I didn't know that. That's I mean, it doesn't surprise me. We'll get into all that stuff too later
sure,
about
absolutely.
you personally.
So Matt, could you just clear that, because that's news to me? Could you just clear that up? There is data that exists for the grapeseed version, but whether or not the reason why you left, there was data on that though, right? I'm remembering that correctly.
Absolutely, and
okay.
And that's what we were really studying, even when the patents were issued.
Right.
We were looking at grapeseed, rhubarb, peanut shells, peanut skins, grapevine, grape skin, Concord grapes. We were looking at all kinds of different things. And that's why this took me years. When I really started digging into it, it was early 2014, and I didn't even launch until late 2017 because we were still just figuring it out. What's the best source material? We looked at all of them. It's all covered generally under the patent. And so once we finished seeing how we performed with animals, which is the ebb and flow, you start with animals, you build your way to humans, and then you go from there once you know what you have. And bear in mind, everything starts with me. I don't test something on an animal that I think is going to hurt, nor was I injecting something into a horse, okay? We were doing cellular studies. And it's because of what the data came back with is why we decided to look for a better source origin material that wasn't going to be harmful to anything, let alone animals.
Man, okay, so there's a million different ways we can take this conversation, because just from personal stuff, but maybe we'll stick with the business aspects, because there was something that you mentioned. We did a podcast. I mean, that was a long time ago. We first did that, and something that you said on there always stuck out with me because it rang home with me so true. You said, man, I thought I was gonna die being the only person that got this. What? You have this idea and you have this concept and nobody cares. And you're like, am I just the only one that gets this, on this whole planet? Because people see you now, and especially this coming year, you're going to see tons and tons and tons of products coming out with Base 06 again, stuff like that. So people will see you now. But there was a point in time where nobody gave a shit about anything that you were doing, whether you had data or anything like that. So I know that was one thing that you said on that podcast that has always stuck with me, because I went through the same thing. I was like, why am I the only person that fucking gets that this is an important thing? And then you fast forward a couple of years later and it's okay, people get it. But there's that point where you're just that's something that you said that always stuck out with me that I just loved. I mean, because we can laugh about it now a little bit, right?
Yeah. And I remember that's a big place where we connected over it too, because entrepreneurs get it. You understand the frustration, you understand the pain, because you send all these emails and you reach out to all these different companies and you try to schedule all these different phone calls and meetings, and nobody wants to talk to you.
Yep.
And so for me, I was thinking to myself, I'm literally going to go to my grave as the only person in the world that got this. And I knew I was never going to back off it. I was dug in. I was all in on this. And I never had a plan B. And I'm not trying to be cliche, but I never had a plan B. I'm like, this is it. I cannot even go back into my old career. What am I going to show them? A 5-year gap on my resume of a failure? And they're supposed to, what, they're going to hire me because, oh, welcome back after you failed for 5 years, dude. Like I had no alternative plan to return. So I really had to figure it out. And a lot of people always tell me that, oh, sink or swim. I'm like, it's fucking live or die, dude. If I don't figure this out, I starve to death. I get handed over to creditors. I'm homeless. My car gets repossessed. The car I bought my mom gets repossessed. I'm done. I'm completely finished at 35. And it was a terrifying time to be alive and trying to build a company that no one seems to understand. Now, I want to be clear. I don't begrudge anybody that walked away from me. In fact, I had another guy walk up to my partner who I had approached initially and told him what I was doing. And perhaps he took it the wrong way. He may have thought that I was looking for capital investment, but I wasn't. And anyways, he said, not the right time, not into it. Good luck. Fast forward years later, where Vaso 6 is kind of popping up all over various places. This guy walks up to my current partner and says, are you still doing that green tea extract thing? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, well, I passed on that. And my partner's like, fucking thanks. Yeah. I appreciate you doing that. And so my point is, I'm not mad at somebody for passing on me. I say, maybe I didn't present it the right way. Maybe I didn't present it during the right time. Are you fucking yawning?
Yeah. Sorry, man. No. I'm here. No excuses. You're right. I'm listening.
Oh, good. And so you just can't take shit personally as an entrepreneur. You have to build, and you have to keep forward, and you have to stay on your path. And I could have let that kind of shut me down. Oh my gosh, this guy that I respect just really turned his back. He knows business pretty well. He sold his company for $18 million, and he thinks I've got nothing. So gosh, what does that mean? But I refined my pitch, and instead of thinking, well, gosh, that's his loss, I dug into why they walked away from me, what his concerns were, and I started addressing those. And so when I started addressing other people's concerns into why they felt I wasn't ready, that's when I started seeing a little bit of momentum. That's when I had a better understanding of what I had. And I was getting it on a very general level, but now I'm starting to get on a more specific level. And what I needed to do is just take it all the way from up here and bring it down here so that people can understand it. Because oftentimes when people don't know what they're talking about, they try to talk over your heads. And I can sit here and be like, well, epicalligadic and you know, I'll get all these molecular structures and weights and catechins and EGCG and ECG and EEGC. And like, if that's the way you speak to people, no wonder people are walking away. You don't make any sense. And so you have to really break it down to a very basic, simple elevator pitch that people can understand and get enthusiastic about. And so after years of failures, people finally started getting it. Matt Tidlow at Compound Solutions finally got it. And I remember thinking to myself, thank God, because I was at my burn rate. My girlfriend lent me money to get me over the finish line. In fact, one of our famous conversations is, all right, I'm going to close this deal at Compound Solutions. Wish me luck. And I'm driving from New Mexico on to California. And I'm texting her. I was like, gosh, shit. I meant to fill up for gas in Arizona. Now I'm in California. It's like $5 more. And she said to me, she was like, if you go there and you handle business, you're never going to have to worry about the cost of gas again. And it refocused me entirely on what my mission, what my purpose was of going to California. Matt got it. We launched, and it was on.
Wow. Matt, you said one thing in there that really struck with me. Before I get to that, I want to say I'm not an entrepreneur in terms of like I don't own a product that I created or anything, but the sentiment of dying without people understanding, I feel a lot of that with this group of people and people outside of it, like Waldron and stuff. Not in that they get the thing that I created, but there's a certain feeling or sentiment that we have in terms of like this new guard idea or just how we feel about the industry. For a long time, I felt like I was alone on that. Like I felt like I want to change things, and I can do a certain amount of stuff, but I don't like doing this alone. And I was super relieved to find that other people felt the same way. But you said that instead of feeling angry towards people that said no to you, you actually listened to them and what they didn't like about what you had to say. And I think that's ridiculously mature because a lot of people come from a very negative standpoint. They're like, no, fuck those guys. I'm going to stay on this pitch. I'm going to double down and do this even harder. But you actually listen to these people, right? I'm assuming these people that said no to you, you were approaching them for a good reason. They're intelligent, they're successful, whatever. And you listen to their feedback on your pitch. And I think that's huge. I think a lot of people have this idea for a company and are like, no, I'm fucking right and I'm going to keep it that way. But listening to those naysayers instead of seeing them as haters sounds like it was pretty helpful for you.
Very much so. And this is, again, and please forgive me, I'm going to regurgitate a lot of conversations I've had with Snoop, not in interviews, just weekly. We just chop it up, he and I.
Yeah.
And so in business, as an entrepreneur, there's a cardinal sin. And many people just, and forgive the crude expression, okay, but they kind of strangling your baby. And you can't get emotional about your project, even though it's yours and you love it and you care for it, you nurture it, you believe in it, you want to build it and grow it. You can't fall in love with it. You have to be able to take the hits. People are going to punch you in the teeth, and they're going to tell you why it's stupid, why it doesn't work. I was talking to a guy, and he told me, he's like, there's plenty of NO products out there. I said, tell that to RC Cola when somebody said there's already Coca-Cola.
Right.
What am I supposed to just not do anything? And just accept the fact that this is the way it is, when in fact I think I can do it differently. Maybe not even better, but differently, maybe less expensive. Who knows? But when you're able to not get emotionally attached to your company and you can receive appropriate criticisms and not take it just so personal, that was the inflection point where things started changing for me, because instead of looking at it through my biased lens, I was looking at it through theirs. And now I'm starting to see forward movement. And that's the same with Snoop. People didn't understand what he had right away. They didn't get what he had. I think many people be like, there's already review companies. Like, they'll minimize it because they don't understand it. Snoop gives reviews because people want to know what he has to say. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only time I've ever seen the guy give reviews. It's not even what he does, but because of what he's built and the credibility he's established and the platform he's developed, now they want to hear what the fuck he's got to say about a product and ingredient panel or the path forward for a company that may be stuck.
Well, one thing that you hit on that I think was, we've actually been joking about this a lot lately, is, talking about entrepreneurship or starting a business. And a lot of it is, you're like flying blind the whole time. And you're just, the difference between a lot of like people that are successful at it and people that aren't is your ability to just kind of like wing it and kind of figure out, because like, we talked about before, we mentioned you don't come from the supplement space. A lot of people that are in the supplement industry have been in it from like, that's their first job and they're in it the whole entire time. There's a lack of perspective. There's a lack of, so many like successful people that are in the space right now take inspiration and come from outside the space and bring like the tools from outside the space, which is, I think, a really exciting part about what's going on now.
Yep.
You really come from like, it's like out of nowhere when it comes to bringing an ingredient to market. So it's like, you're really kind of going into it. Like you're talking about refining your pitch and all stuff. It's like a lot of people are so, they're paralyzed because they're like, well, I have to be like perfect when I hit the ground. And it's like, that's just, most people I know, including myself, it's like, you don't really, you have a plan, but it's like, you don't really know what you're doing. You're just kind of like,
how many times have you adjusted your model, your specific model, in the past 3 years? Does it even look like what it used to look like when you envisioned it?
Every other day.
Right.
Every other day. It's a leap of faith, and you have no like end in sight. And that's one thing. It's like, you fake it till you make it, and that statement reigns true in a lot of ways. Obviously, you're not going to go out and say things that aren't true, but you do have to hold that confidence and have that faith that it is going to work out.
And that's the big difference. A lot of people don't understand, and really that is real. Like the fake it till you make it mentality, and it doesn't come from a place of deception. It comes from a place of belief. You know you have, and you've got to project that confidence and stability into your own brand, or else other people won't pick up on it. I can tell you right now, like a guy I went to high school with owns a supplement store. I don't give a shit about his store. No, I don't care. He's not he does it for the wrong reasons. I look at him as the kind of guy that just does the same old, the copy and paste. There's nothing new, interesting, innovative. He hasn't done anything to pull me in. And now look at Jacob. Look at what he does. Look at how dug in he is, and the creations that he creates, just the innovation and just making you want to look. You know what I mean? And this other guy, I'm telling you, like I went into a store one time to be like, hi, haven't seen you in years. I've got this little company, Vaso 6, and he couldn't have cared less. In fact, he was insulted that I sauntered on into his world as a complete stranger, that he, for some reason, just felt I didn't belong. And all he does every day is stream MMA fights, sling products I've never heard of, and no one gives a shit. And then, as I said, then you've got Jacob. They're not the same. He does things that pulls people in, grabs an audience, hunts for customers, and gives you a reason to spend your money there and not on Amazon. And that's what I give a shit about.
Thank you. Well, I think in order to be successful in today's environment is, as an entrepreneur, you cannot view yourself as a certain industry, right? So like, I don't view TNS as a supplement retailer. Like, it technically is. That's how we generate revenue. But what we do and how we do it, I don't even view those other supplement stores as competition. We've talked about it a few times on the cast. That's why I left that supplement shop owners group. Like, I don't, like, it's no comparison. So I think in order to truly, like, follow your path and become successful at it, you cannot view yourself in a same, like, lane race as other entities.
Correct.
So,
yeah, and that's like exactly like what we were talking about here too, Matt. It's like you're basically going into that part of the map that's not discovered yet, because you're not following along someone else's game plan. So how the hell could you possibly have the answers? You're in uncharted territory, so you're just kind of making. So people talk about they want innovation, they want trailblazers, you want to do all that stuff, but then they're also like, well, I don't want to fumble my way through it and make mistakes at the same time. It's like, well, you can't have both. You know what I mean?
Agreed. And
it's kind of beautiful.
And I've had a lot of people. I'm sorry, Ben. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say, I know Jacob and I use the phrase paralysis by analysis pretty often. At the beginning of like making my own content, I was like, I couldn't figure out which direction I wanted to go in. I had the same problem where I looked at other content creators and was like, maybe that's a good idea, and I was like, no. Yeah. And you have like a little bit. I don't know if you guys ever do with your businesses and stuff, but you have like a little bit of a freak out moment where you're like, I literally have no path that I'm stuck to.
Yes. If I ever think about it, I freak out. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I still have those some days. I'm like, I don't have a path. Like, I do whatever the fuck I want. And I'm like, oh, I do whatever the fuck I want. At
some point, you come to an epiphany that you are in your own like lane.
Yeah.
You can pick and choose ideas from other entities and other business models and other content creators, but at the end of the day, you create this script for yourself as to what you are, and that is a lot of what entrepreneurship is. Like, you are in your own realm.
Yeah.
But that's what I believe. So
but I love those like wild ideas that you randomly come up with that are like nothing like what people think you should be doing. It excites me. Like,
and one thing, like Matt, I know you can comment about this. Something I said when we were talking to Chris Waldron, I said, like exactly what Ben's saying, like we all maybe have different things that we're working on, but that whole principle is the same. That's why we can talk to each other about it. Like I mentioned to Chris the one time, I said, when I see you putting together a label and a formula and a design, like I don't do that, but I understand your struggle with it. So that's why it's, you're coming in from totally here. Jacob is a retailer. Ben, does his thing. I do my thing. But it's like at the heart of it, we all kind of understand the same concept. It's all the same basic thing. So it's like, even though the details are different, we all, can at least come together about that.
Well, and I'm here to learn too. You know what I mean? Like if I can learn more, I can learn more about both of you guys and even you, Matt, your realm of this industry, I think I'm going to be that much stronger of a force, in 10 years. And I think it goes for all of us.
In a weird way, I always feel like even like Jacob and I have the same mission, even though we have completely different businesses. Like we're trying to accomplish the same thing here, and it feels really good. Like I think like it's hard at first to be on your own and do your own thing, and you start to realize like you really aren't. Like if you like, we have a pretty cool coalition of people that act in the same direction, and it feels good.
Yeah.
So it goes back to what you were speaking about a moment ago with relative to the new guard.
Yeah.
And that's something I genuinely take pride in, because as edgy as this industry thinks it is, it's not. It's really not. Like, this industry is so conservative, and no, I'm not talking politically. I'm talking conservative. There are so many companies that are terrified to break away from a label they've been using since the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And it weirds me out. I'm like, you understand what the evolution of medicine is, right? Like, why these people think that they must, I mean, literally, they must, you absolutely must have citrulline in your pre-workout. I'm like, why?
Well,
I literally don't get it. I don't understand why that must be a staple, or you have nothing.
Right? You got Drew Peters on here.
It amazes me because the social proof is already there. That the new way of marketing these things and labeling these products and designing these products, it works. I mean, you see companies at the actual top right now that are beating out a lot of, quote unquote legacy companies, or whatever we want to call them. And yet the legacy and the people who've been in the industry forever are still so stuck to their guns. Like, I don't know what more proof they need, but then again, that's outside of
I was working with a brand on a pre-workout, and I didn't put beta-alanine in the pre-workout, and the owner was like, you have to put beta-alanine in the pre-workout. You have to. And I was like, that precise reason is why we shouldn't. Like the thought that people are going to get mad if we don't put this thing in that has nothing to do with pre-workout supplementation, that's why we should not put it in.
Right. And that's lack of confidence in one's brand. If that's as strongly as you believe in your messaging and your ability to reach people is the copy and paste, there's going to be what is the greatest fear? Is the fear going to be there's going to be a mass exodus of customers that don't see beta-alanine in the pre-workout?
I can speak from my perspective, and the only reason why I would say that it is necessary from a retail perspective is that, and this is not how we operate at my store whatsoever, but I know a lot of stores do. If you feel a product physically, you're going to be that much more likely to take it. And the paresthesia that occurs is a lot of times up here, more so than it is in here.
Yeah.
And so customers are that much more apt to buy that product and pull it off the shelf without any explanation whatsoever. Now, obviously, we don't operate that way, and I'm not the most proponent of beta-alanine. Like, there's certain things about it I like, but I see that perspective of it.
If the CEO had said that to me, I would have agreed with him, and I would have put it in. But it was more like the commenters are going to flip out. And this is something that we see more and more often, which I'm flattered that people think that my and Justin's followers are that big of a deal. But, like, I have to, like, it is a big deal. But at the same time, like, I also have to remind owners that, like, there's like 7 billion people in the world. And with digital advertising, you can reach people that don't follow Stack 3D and price-bound supplement Snoop. There's like so much more out there that we can reach with this industry. And when we legitimize the industry, we drop prop blends, we create better products, we can reach out further into this industry. But some brands are afraid of the comments that are going to come online.
Yeah, it was like when I remember like starting to create content and certain things, and people were like, wait a minute, it has to be free. And I was like, well, it's not going to be free. And people were like, well, you can't charge money for it. I was like, well, watch me. Because I don't think it should be free. So I agree with that.
It's an interesting concept because it's actually kind of funny. When I talk to bodybuilding about it, when they put a pay gate on their content, I was like, well, listen, man, all the content that you guys make, some random kid can do better content on YouTube, and they can go to Amazon and sell the product without going through like anything you can do, someone else can do, and that kind of really ups the ante because like supplement Snoop has to be really high quality if you're going to pay for it, which it is. Plus,
bodybuilding always was free. You know what I mean? So it's like then all of a sudden you want to start charging people, and it's like, whoa. But anyway, I don't want to talk about what we were doing. Like Matt, there was something like that I wanted to ask you. So how does it go from you have this ingredient, right? But then like what was like the time frame in the process of like your meeting with Matt Titlow to the first time that Base 06 was like in a product, which I don't want to speculate what product it was. I think I know what it was, but I'll let you sort of tell that story.
Your segue is so perfect. You have no idea. And the reason is because what you guys were just talking about, how if you feel something, it's a big deal. And so my whole thing was, all right, so we've got the data coming together, we've got the patents, and now I've got only two paths. Either I'm going to go beat someone to death with science and hit them over the head with patents and papers and hope like hell they include it, or as Jacob is smiling about, you're going to feel it. And that's a very different sell as when you hand somebody a capsule and tell them to go smash, and they're like, holy shit, I felt something different. And so there was that inflection point in the development of my company where at some point, after all the data has been done and every hole has been poked, now I have to get a manufacturer that's going to make it. They have to make my specially patented recipe that no one else has. And this is the thing that makes mine different and mine better. And it's either going to be the same experience you've always felt, nothing at all, or it's going to blow your fucking hair back. And opinions may vary, and that is perfectly fine. You guys would sit here, Snoop, I know for sure, would tell me I'm full of shit if I said 10 out of 10 people love it. No, they don't. I have plenty of people that don't. They're like, dude, it's fucking green tea extract. I'm like, what do you want? You know what I mean? Go pick a product you do like, then, man. Don't use mine. That's fine.
Well, do you deal with non-responders? Because that's one of my favorite concepts in this industry. Like, listen, I'm a Vaso 6 non-responder. This one ingredient, it doesn't work with me. Like, you're fucking right. Like, all this clinical data means nothing. And to be fair, like, as much as I love Vaso 6, if we pick something with like tons of data behind it, like people like creatine really doesn't work for me. I'm like, it doesn't really work that way.
I love how people use the word non-responder as a measure of how well it works subjectively to them.
Yeah.
And a non-response to a drug is literally measuring like the nitrogen retention in your shit.
Right.
Like,
yeah. That was always what cracked me up. I was like, how are you determining that you're a non-responder? I was like, so you're hooking yourself up to some machines and stuff like that?
Correct.
I'll just see that.
And you guys are all saying the right things. Let's qualify that, right? You're a non-responder to Vaso 6. Okay.
Like,
so you've been running gear for the past 20 fucking years. You don't even produce your own sperm. You don't even produce your own sperm naturally. But somehow my green tea extract is supposed to do what for you? You know, like your body is so riddled with things that I don't even know about. Dude, I have no idea how many milligrams of caffeine you've had today. And so when people come to me and try to tell me it doesn't work, I'm like, for you, maybe it doesn't work for you. Let's talk about what regimen you're currently on, what regimen you've been on the past week, the past month, the past year, and they don't want to play anymore. But the point is, not everyone is going to respond to it. But I will tell you this. A lot of athletes that know how to train hard, that have been of this industry. One of my buddies is a well-known bodybuilder, and he said the first time he tried it, he freaked the fuck out. He's like, I'll never lift without this ever again. I won't even step on stage without this in my veins ever again. Because most elite athletes, most people that know how to train. Jacob, how long have you been training for?
About 12 years or so.
Justin?
25, maybe 30 years.
Yeah, conservatively, right?
25.
Oh.
Ben?
I think like
that's something that Ben. I think Ben is awesome. He always says that. He's like, look, when you're talking to people about supplements, you're like, I don't think you train hard enough to understand or to notice this. You say it all.
That's a boring question. Like, you want to talk to me about whether or not you got a pump from Vaso 6. I want to know how much water you drank in the last 6 hours. Like,
correct.
It's probably a boring, non-sexy question to ask, but like, how many hours did you sleep last night? Mm-hmm. Did you consume carbs in the last 3 hours? Like, I joke with people, I can get a better pump with nothing other than just my diet, sleep, and water than you could with every single fucking supplement out there and Cialis. Like,
yeah,
bet. Let's do it.
Not you, Jacob. Not you. I'm talking about the non-responder that's watching this.
Non-responder.
No, I mean, and what we deal with a lot is like the same people that are quote unquote non-responders or just it doesn't work are also the people that are doing like starting strength or Mad Cow 5x5. Like, and I know you know what those are, Ben. Like, it's like a very super simple template.
Mm-hmm.
What's your end goal here? Like, what are you trying to feel doing it? Like,
back to that paralysis by analysis thing. Like people just overthink and they try to overanalyze themselves when they don't even know how to read.
We talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, but there's like a spectrum of researchers and actually educated people out there, and it's kind of hard because when you talk to like people like Mike Israetel, he won't take you for anything but like black coffee, creatine, and beta alanine, you know, and unfortunately we don't have the same kind of data going on as he gets for his kinds of studies, you know. Like
you got to realize he's an exercise physiology researcher. He's not a nutritional science researcher or a nutritional performance researcher. And so
I'm also just saying that like the quality of studies in our industry aren't always like what those kinds of people want, you know. Like
I get it.
I would love for us to be able to do the same kinds of studies that he's doing, but it's just,
well, I mean, you know, before someone like that raises their opinion, they might want to be honest about everything else in their body.
That's fair.
You know, or be
That's
transparent.
fair. That's fair.
But aside from the point, I love that individual. Like I had nothing but respect. Like that was one of my like people I looked up to in college.
I'm kind of like coming from an angle that like the day that he like accepts that betaine anhydrous is helpful, I'm gonna be really happy. Like I really like he's like, you know, you want the approval of your dad, you know, like I want someday him turn around and be like, oh, some of these ingredients do work. Like Vaso 6 is pretty helpful, you know, like I want that to help. Which is what made me so excited about Matt, because but one of the first times I talked with Matt, we were talking about training, and I told him I run West Side Conjugate, which not a lot of people in this industry have any fucking clue what that is. And he was like, oh, I appreciate that you're actually an athlete. You know, like I think we talk with a lot of people that like train a 5-day bro split, and there's not a lot of. Aren't you? You're on the RP training template, right?
Yeah, I was.
I don't want to insult anyone.
No. I think as a bodybuilder, it's a totally different realm anyway. Like you can get to a point where you adapt and you understand what like volume to increase, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait.
That's also one of the funny things about qualifying is, you know, I have to figure out pretty quickly. Get out of my field of vision. Get out of here. One of the things I have to figure out is, do they just hate the ingredient and they don't like the ingredient, or are they just wanting to talk shit about me? And so, oftentimes you have to really figure out: are you just being a troll that hates, or are you, in fact, somebody that just doesn't believe in the product or the brand? And I'll tell you, people that are doing as well or better than me never have anything negative to say about me. Yep. People that are doing infinitely worse or nothing at all have a lot to say about me.
Yep. Yeah.
And as far as whether or not the ingredient works or not, I've never, ever positioned it as something that's better or best. I've never positioned it as something that you must have or else. I love when it's included in a number of different pump formulas because I play nicely with other products. I want to be the driver of those ingredients. I want to open the pathway for those products. And a lot of people try to pit me against one pump company or whatever. I don't even like to talk about my product as a pump. Like, it's all about blood flow for me, and that's what it's always been. Without your blood flowing, you cease to exist. It's a life thing. It's not just about workouts and supplements. And so for me, if somebody's going and telling me they do an Orange Theory class every Monday and Friday, and they don't feel Vaso 6, I don't entirely take them too seriously. I also have other people that tell me they don't buy in or believe it, but they've never really worked out in their life, and though I'll encourage them to, point is you kind of have to cut your losses sometime. Some people are very interested and care, and I'm going to give you an example. The Snoop troop, all right? These people are fanatical about their supplements. They're fanatical about their fitness. They are all about what they do and how they do it. They spend all their money on supplements, their recreational money on supplements to make themselves better because they love it, they believe in it, they care about it. And these are the type of people that I give a shit about. I don't care about the naysayer who's just here to talk shit and get a rise out of me in a comment section.
Yep.
And when that's why I say you really have to qualify the types of people that have something to say about your product, because is it genuine or is it just them talking shit because they're not happy with where they are in their life?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a real consideration. A lot of people just want to get a rise out of you.
Yeah. So one thing I want to go back in time a little bit, because there's something about your past that I think ties into your attitude now? Because I think like a lot of people see you now, they meet you now, and they're like, man, Matt is like such a selfless person. You know, you have a certain attitude about life, appreciating life and things like that. So there was something that happened to you when you were younger. And I think just my speculation, just knowing you and us, all our conversations, something happened to you when you were younger that made you have a different appreciation for life now. And I think that has also maybe helped you sort of get through some of these things, these trials and tribulations that you see, because you have a different perspective than some people. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about maybe what happened in the past and maybe how that ties into what goes on now.
Yeah, I'm open with a lot of that stuff. And bear in mind, this is the stuff that my mom worries about. She's like, I was raised a fighter. I literally in high school, I carried a mouthpiece in my pocket every weekend because I knew I was going to get into a fight with somebody. Some guy would just pick a little fight or talk a little shit, and I wouldn't say anything. I would just put my mouthpiece in and I would go. And that's why I kind of crack up at some of these guys that try to act hard. I'm like, you're not the one, man. Like, I know you think you are, but you're not. And so I went through a bunch of stuff, and that'll come out at another time. But shit,
that's hour 2.
December 12th.
Yeah, it is going to be that time. I mean, there's a time when I was bouncing and I got jumped by 5 guys, and they pepper sprayed me, and I'm fighting in the middle of the street. And in the middle of that fight, I'm being choked to death, and I threw the guy over my back and started kicking his ass. It was a cop. I got arrested. I went to jail. And because I went in as a cop fighter, they hogtied me, threw me in the back of the paddy wagon, turned up the heat, fogged it with mace, and like I'm telling you, they cooked me. And they would come into my jail cell and do it repeatedly. And then I finally get my hearing. Now I get to have my voice heard. Now they understand that I was at work, I was being attacked, I was fighting blind, charges dropped and dismissed. I don't hold it against them, they didn't hold it against me, no big deal. That was one interesting pivotal point in my life, but it was because of that treatment is what set me on a different path, because I always wanted to go into law enforcement. And I'm like, I'm meant for other things. And I had just graduated college. This is story number 2. And I had graduated college. I was homecoming king at one point. I went back to go to the homecoming football game. I was having the time of my life. It was a great time. And in doing so, the night's ending. And one of my friends, the group that I'm with, this girl had these like paw print tattoos on her chest. And I said, nice tats. And I literally said it as that, nothing more. Oh. And her brother's like, what'd you say, dog? What'd you say? And I'm like, you know what the fuck I said. Don't make it a thing. And that was kind of the end of that. And I get in the car with them and we're driving off. Little did I know, the driver of my car to the next place that we're going to just pulls off to the gas station. She's like, just give it 1 second. I said, that's fine. And my door's being yanked open. And I thought we were being carjacked. And I was like, holy shit. And so it's me and 4 other girls in the car. And the driver, for some reason, gets out because she was just looking around as a couple of guys are swarming me. And I take off my glasses and I said, hold these. And no, so I'm playing possum. These guys are closing out. I was like, hey, no hard feelings. As fast and as quick as I could. So that guy's done. And then the other guy comes in, and now that guy's done. And then the third guy comes in who I didn't see. And he hit me in the back of the head with steel cable that is used to hold up telephone poles. And then the other guy had a steel pipe. And then the remaining 3 people just stood there and beat me senselessly with pipe and cable until I couldn't walk or stand anymore. And I had to be flown out for emergency surgery because they were killing me. And the only reason I survived it is because my teammates that I played college ball with were driving by. They're like, oh my God, that guy's getting fucked up. But they've seen me fight a million times. They're like, fuck, that's Nickerson. And they came over, and if not for them coming over, they would have finished me off. I was done. And they show up, cops arrive, small town justice. One of my attackers is cousin with the police. They're like, hey, we can't tell who started it or how many people were involved. Like, no charges were pressed. No one got arrested. I go to the hospital. 2 of them went to the hospital. And And so that was one of my first near-death moments where people tried to kill me and I made it.
But the one say I know of another one too. Like this is
you do.
I was thinking
what is going on?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so like, that's what like when people
incredible.
When you ask somebody about a near-death experience, you think that if you just mention it, then they'll just say what you're thinking. But this is different than what I was thinking. So go ahead.
Shit.
Can we recreate this scenario for a video for you, like a documentary kind of thing?
We could.
Like, this would be amazing.
Well, and the crazy part is, I remember thinking when that whole thing was happening, I remember thinking like, you're the only thing standing between this car of girls and tragedy. You've got to fight like an animal. And so I did, but what I didn't know was the driver of my car was on the phone with these guys and they said, pull over, we're going to kill that fucker. And so the people I was fighting to protect were in on it. And that's why like it never went anywhere with the police. Like just no one would cooperate. No one would give an actual witness testimony. And I was fighting as hard as I could for people that were literally complicit in trying to have me killed. And so that story shaped me a little bit. And the story that Snoop is talking about was when I was in high school, again, homecoming night. If there was ever a bad time in my life, it's mid-September on homecoming.
Oh man, I'm gonna need to change my shirt after this.
So I played the game of my life, dude. My team is 4-0. I'm starting quarterback. I broke off a 74-yard touchdown run. Great time. Homecoming was a blast. Everything was fun. My dad tells me, "Hey, you're riding like the highest of highs right now, son. Don't fuck it up." And I'm like, "All right, what could go wrong?" And so me and a car full of my friends, we go out. A little altercation happens between the driver and the driver of another car. And they're just kind of going back and forth. And then they come to the same place in a fast food restaurant. And the driver of my car is like, they're still going at it. They're just still talking shit. So he gets out, approaches the car, and I'm talking to the girls in the back, dude. Like, at this point, I still don't care. I'm like, look, man, I fight every weekend, dude. This one's yours if you want it. And I stay in the car. And next thing I know, I see the guy from my car who was just such a badass a minute ago stop dead in his tracks. And I was like, what a bitch. Like, you were such a tough guy a minute ago, and now you're just... And then I realized he's got this little red dot dancing around on his chest and settles on his head. And then I look over and I see a guy in the car who's got a gun leveled at him. I was like, what? And so I was like, I'll be right back. And that's when I get out of the car and I join the fray. And I went up and told the driver of the other car, I said, look, dude, if you're looking for a fight, I'm your guy. If you're looking for a gunfight, you win. You win. Have it, bro. Like, we didn't realize it was that kind of party, dude. If you were trying to make a point, you made it. Move on. And then I hear this, Nickerson? And I'm like, Colin? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, you fucking copied my homework in geometry in summer school, dude. And he's like, yeah, what the fuck are you doing? I said, what the fuck are you doing? You're the one pointing a gun at people, dude. And so we're like, hey, dude, whatever. Like, let's stop this shit right now. And so we solve it, and his sister's in the back. She's like, that's right, you bitch. That's right. Blah, blah, blah. Talking shit. I said, hey, don't.
That's
right,
where the whistle.
This is where the whistle started.
Yeah.
That's where the whistle originated.
Yeah.
If this is a movie, this is like the big moment where the whistle happens.
Yeah. Correct. The crescendo is going down. And so I tell her what I tell her, and he didn't like what I told her. And then, so his tone with me changes. Now my tone with him changes. And I said, look, dude, you're a bitch, bro. Like, you're going around starting shit with people in the street and you're pulling a gun on them, man. Fuck you. And he's, he starts up again. And I said, to my buddy, as I'm kind of pushing him back, because the fight was really between them and I'm still getting in the middle of it. And then I saw his pupils. They were the size of olives, dude. He looked like a shark. They were just big and huge and dilated. And that's what I remember. And he had these tweaker tendencies, he just kept with this shit. And he was really herky-jerky, fidgety kind of. It was like a Keith Jardine fight. And he levels it up. And I got in front of my buddy, and I was trying to shield him like this because he was going for my friend, who was again, still behind me, talking all the shit he could. And then the guy fires it, bang. And I got pissed because I've been shot at before, but I've never been hit, and I still didn't know I was hit. But I was wrestling the gun away from the guy because I didn't want him to shoot me back, so I shot that fucker with his own gun. And I wasn't trying to kill him, nor did I. But we had a gunfight. 2 people got shot, and nobody died. And next thing I know, their car just peels on out and takes off, and I'm pissed. I'm on the ground and I'm getting up and I'm like, oh god damn it, dude, I'm gonna fuck him up. And then I get weak in my knees a little bit, and then my knees kind of start to tremble, and then I realize I can't pick up my arm, and now I'm just spitting blood out of my chest. I was like, shit. I said, God, he got me. And so I'm kind of falling down on the ground in a drive-up window.
I feel like that's exactly how you said it too.
Right.
Like, oh god, he got me.
Son of this, I love this shirt.
Yeah,
too.
damn. Like,
I feel like I'm watching Tombstone.
Shit. Dude, I was wearing my favorite Quicksilver shirt. Police took it into evidence. I never got it back. They took my Airwalk Blamos. I never got those back. I was pissed about that. But I'm fading out in the drive-up. And so, you know, EMTs and ambulance and all this is coming. But my best friend that I've known my whole life, she runs out of the car. Again, all my friends that are in the car, they run out. Oh, my God, Matt got shot. Holy shit. And I'm lying in my friend's lap. And I said, hey, take my fucking fake ID out of my wallet. The cops are going to be wanting to know who the fuck I am. And so she takes my ID out.
Oh, my God.
And I'm starting to get a little bit woozy. And so the EMTs are now on the scene, and they're talking to me. And at this point, I have a pretty good feeling I'm not going to die. And it's a tough feeling to say, but I was like, I think I'm going to survive it. And so the EMT's like, hey, what's his name? What's his name? And I was like, I'm Superman. And I winked at her from her lap, looking up. I was like, wink. And she's like, God damn it. The cops are like, the EMT's are like, oh my God, he's losing so much blood. I was like, I'm fucking kidding, guys. I was like, little levity here, little levity. And then so they get me in there, they take me off, and I'm like, hey, shit, my back is really burning, man. I'm on fire right now. And the bullet was still in my back. A lot of people don't understand. Bullets are just on fire, dude. They're white hot. And I could smell it cooking me inside. It was like literally in my lat muscle, just cooking away. And it smelled so gnarly. That stayed with me for months. Oh, my God. And every so often, dude, you'll see me kind of scratching an itch, and I'll pull a little shrapnel out of my body. And it's a weird thing, but it happens every so often. And
so that bullet never left? Like they left it in there?
No, I had surgery to get it taken out. And I got to look at it long enough, and I was like, oh, my gosh, you should make a necklace out of it. I'm like, it's not the movies. It was a gnarly hollow point, jagged as could be, pieces of my shirt and blood and tissue all in it. And it was just a big, clumpy chunk of metal, jagged as could be.
Those hollow points fuck you up.
Yeah, they do. They suck. And I was lying on my back to surgery. And by the way, I had to like wear a girdle, dude, for a month and a half. And I haven't gotten to a fight with my girdle on. But so the reason is because it was in the lining of my lungs. And they're like, dude, if you breathe too deeply, you're gonna puncture a lung. And I didn't want that, of course. And so I have to wait like a splinter, as they expressed. It's gonna just slowly build its way to the surface, and that's when they can safely go in and get it. And so they make a little incision, a little bit of blood spits out, hits me on the cheek. They show me the bullet. Wow, that's really neat. Goes right into evidence with the officer in the room, and they take off. But the worst part of that shit was the catheter, dude. They're wheeling me back into the ER. I'm like, oh gosh, it's just get the bullet out of my body. I've got a game on Friday. And the magic finger goes in, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm shot right here. And I didn't understand what the hell, dude. So I'm getting finger banged out on the fucking stretcher. They're shoving tubes in places. I'm like, no. And so it was
that's out, not in.
Ridiculous.
Wait, so what you're saying is, like, when people talk shit on Stack News Instagram sections, like, it's really kind of a waste of time for them to kind of like you'll probably be fine.
It is, and that is the funny thing.
Wow.
The moral of this, and Snoop is right, dude. It's shaped me, man. And I'm not celebrating this, but I don't shy away from it, bro. I've lived a violent life, dude. And that's why I'm a peaceful person now. Like, I've earned my stripes. I've survived. I've been in rough situations. But what people don't get, I protect people, dude. I don't go out looking for fights. I had a friend of mine in high school, and his mom thought I was the spawn of Satan. But what she doesn't realize, and what she never cared to understand, is every night I came home with blood on my knuckles. Her son didn't. And her son was the loudest mouth in the room, always talked shit to people, but couldn't handle himself. He was a $1.05 soaking wet. And so he would run his mouth and I would handle it. And so Snoop is right. It shaped me. But that's why when people come at me, I'm like, God damn, wrong guy, dude. Wrong guy. Like, I'm on my best behavior and I'm a nice enough dude and I'm a gentleman and I try to be professional, but don't know your limits.
That's what I think. And actually, so I said this to Jacob earlier today because I asked him, I was like, well, have you, like really like spoken to Matt before? He's like, well, like kind of here and there. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody always talks about like what a just fantastically nice guy you are, which is true. But I was like, at the same time, I was like, I wouldn't fuck with him.
Like, no, dude, I want you in my circle. Right. Like, this is like incredible. Like I have, wow.
And that's the only place I come from, man, is like, I've always tried to protect people. It's why I was a bouncer in college. Like, I've never gone and looked for fights. I've ended fights with people against smaller, weaker people that didn't want them. Because I'm telling you, I've dealt with it so many times. I'll never forget fourth grade. First fight I got into was a guy named Sammy Dazzo. He was a fifth grader trying to fight a third grader. And I was like,
fuck that guy.
If you want one that bad, like, I'll go. And it's just, that's carried me throughout my whole life. Like, it's about caring for people and about protecting people. And I think I'm built for different things. And one of those things is I've got a good threshold for pain and I don't like seeing people suffer. It's so weird, even just mentally thinking about it. I remember sitting in a restaurant one time in Chicago and I'm looking at this guy and he was sitting there eating by himself. And it just made me sad. I was like, I wish that guy had someone to sit down and enjoy a meal with and share his day with. And as I'm sitting there feeling sorry for this guy, I'm literally sitting there by myself feeling sorry for this guy.
Right.
And I don't know why, but I just genuinely want the best for people. And that's never changing. So I think one of the worst things about what I went through in 2019 is it wasn't all the money I spent protecting my name. It was just, what made me so sad is that people can do this to people. And I felt like, oh my God, my dream came true. The thing I prayed for my whole life actually happened. Holy shit. I'm the kid that always thought, man, if I was a pro baseball player, I'd be the guy that stuck around 2 hours after the game to sign autographs for kids. And now I'm in a neat position where people are interested in meeting me and speaking with me. And then I've got somebody telling the world that I'm a snake oil salesman and I'm a fraud and I'm a liar. And it broke my heart. Like I spent all of 2019 with my heart broken and I never let that on. I just carried on, handled business, went to work, trained, developed a lot of things in my labs, filed more patents, got more data, and you just stand the fight. It's not, he's the first, he won't be the last, but what people don't understand, and back to the origin of this whole thing, is I'm built for punishment, man. And I'm never going to ever let somebody walk over me, my name, my reputation, because I've bled to build it. And whatever it takes down to my last dollar, I will always defend my name and my reputation, and especially the work that I've killed myself to build.
Wow.
Anybody else? Ben, whatever you.
Well,
need a minute.
Yeah. That's why Snoop's my boy. Like, dude, we just back to the Newgard thing, right? Like, I love the fact that I work with people on a daily basis because a lot of people are like, dude, would you exit? Would you sell your company? Would you retire? I'm like, what is it you think I do that's so hard I would have to cash out at 41? I'm getting ready to go to South Carolina to hang out with some of the coolest dudes I've never not met, right? People I cannot wait to break bread with and just learn their stories. I want to learn about you guys, what drives you. And that goes back to the questions earlier about why do you care about supplements the way you do? Why? What was your first experience? And so I love everything about what I do. And some people out there are more than happy to just weaponize their patents and attack people. I use my patents to bring people closer to me so that we can share common bonds and grow together. That's what I'm here for.
Right.
And anybody that thinks otherwise hasn't been paying attention.
I think it's really strong. It kind of makes me sad. I'm friends with a lot of different ingredient providers, and at the end of the day, there's a lot of good people in it, but there's always those backhanded comments. They're quiet sometimes, but it's like, yeah, but that one, not great data on that. Like I'm nice to the Futureceutical guys, and they have S7. Like I think we can all be friends here, and it makes me sad when it has to. It's not always weaponized, but there's always some slight like, yeah, but you know what they did, right? It's really it's sad because this whole industry is about bettering ourselves, right? Like supplements are supposed to make us healthier, stronger, better people, and there's so much negativity that's attached to it. Matt, are you familiar with the scoreboard concept that we talk about with SIRS?
Let's assume that I'm not.
Okay. That's this whole conversation kind of kept making me think of Justin's scoreboard. Justin, I think you came up with a scoreboard thing.
I want the people watching to hear it.
Yeah, so I think it kind of started from me complaining about people writing negative shit on my stuff. I mean, I've managed brands for other people, so it never really mattered when it was someone else's shit. Like, I just didn't care. Like, if someone talks shit about someone else's brand and I'm running the account, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, it is what it is. But once it's my work, it hurts. It stings a little bit more. And I remember telling Justin, like, it was upsetting me. And he was like, man, look at all the good things you've done, that we've done, And he just kept pointing at the scoreboard. And what you said about that kid's mom thinking that you're like a horrible person for fighting, but she didn't realize that you were fighting for her son really reminded me of that. It feels good to have other people on the scoreboard.
and that's what it really is. And dude, I'll tell you an exact example. I could give you many, but I'm walking through the mall with him one time, and this is back when like gangs were a thing. Okay, so it's like 1998, and we're walking through the mall, and this dude, whiter than me, he's got this super fly crip walk. Okay, he's hard as shit. He's the badass of the mall at 3:15 p.m. on a Tuesday. and my buddy's just dogging him the whole way, and I kind of just chuckled to myself at these two idiots. And I hear the guy, "What's up, motherfucker?" And my buddy's like, does the whole thing back, and the guy's coming up closer and closer, and he says to me, he's like, "You want him?" Like, asking me. I'm like, fuck it, I guess. And he literally, like, the guy threw his Sprite at me, dude. And so, because I'm the one that stepped to him, I was like, I'll take him. And so, in the middle of this whole thing, this guy throws his Sprite. I have a fight in the middle of the stupid mall because these two idiots can't stop looking at each other. And he told his mom that I got into a fight in the mall, but he never told her why. And that's another reason why I'm so into quantifying and qualifying information. People just stop at the surface level. But if you go deeper, you find the reasons why people do what they do. Mm-hmm. And it's so simple to do, but people don't do it. And that's why, again, Snoop and I have connected in so many ways because his whole thing is about information. It's about information, quantifying information.
And also,
one thing.
Sorry.
This will kind of be like a long point, Ben. So go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say there's also a lot of situational awareness to the things that Justin talks about. Like quantifying and qualifying would be, is this a good product or a bad product? You could have a yes or a no, but it's also the spectrum is much larger than that. Is a good product for this person at this right time? So,
yep.
Sorry, I'm just loving on Justin.
Yeah, this
right.
kind of and Ben definitely. I mean, all of us. Ben. For sure. I mean, you tie into the same kind of thing, Matt. And not that there aren't other people that do this also, but I will say, like, one thing with you from an ingredient provider standpoint, you talk to people more than most people that are involved with creating ingredients do. Like, you're a people person. You talk to people all day long. That's what I do. It's what Ben does. Yeah. It's what Jacob does. So when you really talk to people, and this is the thing that bothers me the most about this industry, I would say, is the people that act like it's not a people business, where it's just a product business, where it's just a selling business, that there aren't end consumers at the end of this, thing that are trying to solve some and it might not be a problem that matters to, you know, I don't want to like call anybody out, but like won't matter to whatever company are. They're trying to do their thing business wise, and I'm not like saying that's a bad thing, but there's real people at the end of it that are struggling with some kind of problem that they're trying to fix.
Yeah.
And if you talk to those people, then this entire industry means something different to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk to people, even though you could spend your time just talking to brands because you're trying to distribute your ingredient. You could spend all your time talking to compound solutions and things like that from a business. You could be in a room all day long. You talk to people all day long, like the end person. How can I help you? And what you were talking about before about this really means something to you. And those are the people that it's like, dude, yes, this is what I mean. How is that a bad thing? Like but once you sort of hear that story and you hear that connection, that's why throughout all of 2019, yes, I used the ingredient and I really, really liked it. Like I was a believer from the beginning. Then I met you and I'm like, well, yes, I was like, I'm always going to be on the side of this. It's not a like Ben talks about this, like, oh, sorry that I'm biased towards an ingredient that I felt worked for me and this guy.
No one's going to talk you off of what you felt. I've heard you say it.
Right. So you talking to people that really use the products, I think, is kind of what separates you from a lot of other ingredient providers, because that's what you do. But because it takes time, it's a pain in the ass talking to people all day long, but you do it.
And here's the fun part, man. This is what I'm not even supposed to. It's what Compound Solutions does. It's what they do.
Yeah.
But and I'm not saying they've done anything wrong. They've done great. The reason my brand is everywhere is because of Compound Solutions. I couldn't contain myself, dude. When I started seeing my brand show up in these different products and formulas, and you're right, the first two, and I'm not saying the first one, the first two was Muscle Farm and Olympus Labs. And they launched at Olympia 2017. And dude, those deals were done before I even had a fucking logo. Like, I'd never even seen my brand, what it looked like before. They actually saw them first because they had to make their labels. And at the time, I was a private account. I had 547 followers and only college teammates, dude. And I'm talking football, basketball, all of that. Like, all the people I went to college with, that's why I had an Instagram page. And then I'm watching my product is launching and these companies are talking about it. And I'm like,
I can't help myself.
I'm like, this is too cool. Holy shit, man. I've got a brand, dude. I've got a brand and it's in the world and I can talk to people about what they think of it. And it just made me so fucking happy to connect with all these people and just follow their path and their progress, dude. Like, I've got people that have been with me from so early on, dude. One of the first ones to come to mind is Pete, New Jersey. And Pete's just been down with me for a long time. He's tried a bunch of different things.
Pete who?
I know. What's that?
Pete who?
He's not a brand. He's a customer.
Oh, okay, sorry. There's a store over here named Pete.
I didn't identify him very well, but he's just one of the first, because he's got a relationship with some of the guys at Olympus and muscle players. He's in tight with muscle players. So Pete's got the shaved head and the goatee.
Yeah, Pete Pazimus. Yeah,
that's him.
Yeah.
And so Pete's just kind of been with me from the early stages, and I've always enjoyed my interactions with him. And you remember him?
Yeah. Well, I'm in Jersey, so I was like, well, okay, cool. Yes. Sorry,
Yeah.
I have joined. I joined all of you in present day.
Yeah. And so Pete's. I told him. I said, man, I don't even have to have business to just want to go to Jersey and smash with this guy in his garage, dude. Like, he trains in his garage. He loves Vaso 6. And so for me, that's always been the dream come true is how can I just want to connect with people, man, like legitimately connect with them and see how it's affected their lives and what influences them. And again, back to the bromance, dude, like the Snoop Troop is just, it's an iconic thing. And also incorporated into that is the New Guard, and it's young blood like Jacob, who's an entrepreneur, but he's doing things that aren't being done, dude. And people are being pulled in and drawn into the very fun, positive vibe. And if I can contribute to that, I want to, and I'm going to. I can easily sit back and let Compound send me my check once a month. I don't say a word. No one knows my name, and who cares? But I would hate that money, dude. I really genuinely want to be a part of people's process. I want to give them someone to believe in and not just something to believe in. And I also want them to know that, look, I bled for it. You can ask me. Mm-hmm. I would never lie to you, man. I would never hurt you. And what people don't get is everyone thought I was full of shit. I'm like, I've got it. I just trained on my product for the very first fucking time, and I cried my eyes out. I was like, it's the shit. I was like, my dips tripled, dude. I went from like 10 to 30 and from 60 seconds rest to 30 seconds rest. And every little measurable from recovery to output, I was like, this is amazing. I was like, what the fuck what do I have? And of course, here's me with like a spoonful of it, right? I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm just so excited about it, dude. And I'm like, God, I can't wait to just give this to a roll. But everyone thought I was lying because it was mine. And of course, I'm biased. And so I think I even bring a little bit of that little kid magic to the equation of I'm just happy. And I want to be somebody that people root for because I'm not a dick. And I want to see people do well because I'm not a dick. I want nitrosamine to kick ass, dude. I want Glycer Pump to fucking kick ass. I want these companies to kick ass. And that's why I spent 2019 just so fucking sad. I'm like, I haven't hurt you. I haven't hurt anyone. I'm trying to make a living, man. I'm genuinely trying to take care of my family, all the people around me. And for anyone to stop and interrupt that for profit is just
sucks.
Yeah, it's not fair. And so I really love the new direction of the way things are going, because one of these days we're just going to get on one of these meetings and we're going to have a page filled with people just participating and chopping it up and having a good time. The meetings that Jacob's having, the Christmas party, who does that?
It's going to be the best thing ever. Yeah. I'll just say that.
I can't think of anyone, dude. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Do I rent a limo and get a smoke machine and fly doves out when I arrive? Like,
actually, please.
That would be incredible.
Yes, the venue's almost secured. I mean, the one thing that makes it different, and that's Justin and Ben already know this, and I'm sure you know this. They're seeing stuff. There's no motive to these parties. Like, there's no motive. We're not selling anything. If you show up and set up a table, especially at this Christmas party, we're probably going to ask you to put it away and get a beer. You know, like this is. Yep. This is more so for the community and for the supplement industry to come together. So,
and dude, that's why everyone's bought in, because it's a beautiful thing. You're not doing the same old shit. You don't have an agenda, and people know when you have an agenda. They can see it, and the best part is it really legitimately is community. I've referenced the supplement Snoop many times, and now what you're doing, and please don't mistake, I'm not talking about Snoop's not affecting people in the real world, but you're bringing people physically to you in the real world to meet, to congregate as a central hub for us to actually break bread finally, because the team is assembled. Well, every one of them is a Snoop trooper.
Yeah, he's cultivating them and we're harvesting them at these events. You know, it's like it's just a chain reaction, and we're all, cultivating them. Like, we all have people that want to follow along and come and just hang out and get to know each other.
I've said to people, I'm like, man, there is nothing like a Snoop Troop welcome, dude. When he gets a new subscriber, this shit is, but that's the point. Everyone matters, dude. And that's kind of the place where we're all coming from. It's built from something beautiful. It's built from something pure, because everyone matters. I'm nowhere important than the most recent person to sign up has no lower or higher station in that Snoop Troop than I do. We're all equal. We're all the same. And we're all there like-minded, having fun, building each other, promoting each other, pumping each other up, supporting each other, buying in financially, figuratively, every way. And it's an awesome thing. And so once again, back to the new guard. That's what makes me so proud of the people that are in here right now, because they're doing things differently. They're experiencing better results than what people have done before. We're trying to eliminate some of these ridiculously manufactured turf wars, and honestly, along the way, some people are going to get stomped out. Mm-hmm. I'm a nice, loving guy, but sometimes people are going to say dumb shit, and they're going to need to get checked. You've had to check people before. And I've said this. I'm like, you want to know what I love about Price Plow? Price Plow brought in a guy who actually will talk shit to you. He'll say things that you don't want to fucking hear, but maybe you need to hear.
Yeah.
And I was going to say too, is the funny thing, you know, talking about like sort of my path into it. I was pretty frustrated with a lot of things that I saw initially. Like when I got into this industry, and who changed my perspective about a lot of things was Ben.
Yeah.
Ben brought, I was like, when I finally met Ben, it was just through email at first, but I was like, holy shit, this is totally different than any other conversation I've had with any other brand. And Ben showed me that there was, and I don't want to say like good people, I don't want to like make it seem like that, but I like emailed NutriBio, and 5 seconds later, Ben gets back to me, and he's like, whatever you need, man. Like, and I'm nobody. Like, I'm literally like nobody. I had like 80 followers at the time and stuff like that. And Ben's like, whatever you need, man, let me know. This is what we do. And that was like an eye-opening experience for me, because I was like, it was kind of disheartening. Like at first, while I was like, what the fuck is this with this? I was like, you know, because I'm a consumer at that time, right? I'm just taking products because I'm trying to improve some aspect of my life. And I'm just trying to find some information about like some protein or something like that. And I can't get anywhere with anyone. And Ben's like, whatever you need, man. Like whatever you got. And I'm like, I'm sure like he has other people. He's got accounts that he has to take care of. He's got all kinds of stuff he's got going on. But he was like, whatever you need. And that opened my eyes to like, wow, this is how things should be. And I'm like, I'm not going to settle for anything else than
the whole industry. When you're a consumer, this whole industry seems like there's a giant fence around it. It's impossible to get in.
Yes.
You know, and I get these questions every single day. And thank you, Justin. I really appreciate that. But like I get these questions every single day. It's like, how do I work in the supplement industry? And the honest answer is, I really don't know. Like, my entrance from retail to nutrition actually, ironically, came from me talking a lot of shit to the point where a CEO noticed and gave me a job. But like, outside of becoming a sales rep and working your way up, I don't know how you do that. And like Matt said before, where else are there open parties where the industry people can get together? There aren't. Like, you go to the Olympia, there are parties that you can go to where like all those top CEOs are going to be. I've been at them. You can't get into them just because.
Not the same.
Yeah, and it's not what we do. And it's
not intimate, dude. It's not intimate. There's no
it's pompous.
There's no connection.
It's like, look at me. I own this like 10, 15, $50 million brand. I have this bottle service, and we're going to sit around and like look at chicks. It's like, it has nothing to do with community or uplifting each other or anything positive. It's just like a pissing fest.
You know, Matt, if you really think about it, I bet you if you look back at the date, it might be like a year ago to the day, the first time we met and went out to dinner together. Like, didn't talk anything. I mean, because it was the same weekend. Olympia was this weekend.
Absolutely. You're exactly right, dude.
It'd be like the anniversary of the first time we hung out.
That was an amazing night, dude. That was a lot of fun.
It was
I couldn't believe it either. I was like, God. And seriously, I don't know if you guys went to Olympia last year, but it was boring. It was boring. The vendors were unimpressive. You could have walked through the entire show in an hour and a half and be like, so this is it? And so for me, the highlight was getting to meet Snoop, because we've been talking and collaborating and brainstorming, not even just about how can we help each other grow or anything like it. In fact, we've never even had that conversation, dude. And we've had to make videos about explaining that to people. Like, there's no pay for play here. I'm not asking him to endorse me, and I'm not blowing him on my channel. Like, we genuinely are bought into each other, and that's actually the whole point of what this is I don't need something in return. There's no quid pro quo. Like, he brings the value that I want to see, and a kind of a full circle that I wanted to bring back. Have you guys ever seen the documentary Bigger, Faster, Stronger? You had to have.
Yes.
Okay.
Like 8 times.
You remember the guy's like, I'm going to make a supplement brand right here on my kitchen fucking table. And I'm like, hold on. I was like, that's the barrier of entry into supplements? I said, fuck that. Do you understand how hard it is to get a new medical device implanted into a patient on an operating room table, and what has to happen for that to happen? And this guy's just cornstarch and cocaine and a little bit of bleach and fucking here's some cyanide and boom, you got a fat burn. I'm like,
it's got pain out in it too.
Yeah.
And so I was like, dude, this industry needs help. It really does. I'm like, if that's the standard and the quality control, and I'm not knocking. It's given a lot to a lot of people. It's given a lot to me, but it has to get better, dude. And people have got to raise their game a little bit. And that's why I like people that call out some of the things in this industry that don't make any sense, that need to be rebooted, recalibrated, or just outright sent out to pasture and shot.
Well, one thing that we talked about a long time ago that was, it's a good thing about the industry that can go wrong, but it actually is a benefit when used for good, is the fact that you can bring some interesting ideas. Now, we can't sit there and talk about how this is going to help you with any medical things, but people can bridge that gap themselves. But because the barrier of entry is easier here than, say, pharmaceuticals and things like that, you can bring some kind of interesting concepts to the table easier. And that was kind of like one thing you and I talked about. You know, when you brought Vaso 6 in, you mentioned how you could get it to athletes' hands quicker and get immediate feedback about what you were doing, which I always thought was a really cool part of your story. Is you're like, you know, we can do this much quicker this way, and I'm going to bring it to people that can really give me some good feedback about it.
100%. Does it work? Does it do anything for you? Does it help you? Did you improve?
Right.
Did it slow you down? Did it hurt you? Was it negative? And I tell people, and I'll try to steer away as I go down this little path of being vile, but this industry is so gnarly. People literally weigh their own fecal matter. Okay, like that's how dialed in some of these people are with their fucking bodies, dude. And I'm like, if I can make it in this industry, and the community that would do something that extreme buys into what I have, I know I have it. And they're brutally honest, good, bad, or indifferent. This industry, if I'm trash, they're going to tell me, you're hot trash, you're not going to be anywhere, go home, send your resume back out there, get back in the operating room, bye-bye, you tried. And that's why it had to be this industry, because it's no holds barred, dude. Supplement industry, dietary supplements, sports, nutrition is a fucking jungle. And you'd better bring something with you. You have to bring something with you. And I'm not talking gimmicks.
Yeah.
Gimmicks don't do shit. Marketing dollars don't do shit. Do you know how much I've paid for people to talk about Vaso 6, to whistle about it, Phil Heath? I've never paid anyone a fucking dollar to talk about my product. Not one. I've never paid somebody to endorse my product. But you want to know why they talk about it? Fucking works.
Yeah.
You're not, Ben and Justin and Jacob, you guys aren't going to stake your reputation on a brand that you think is trash.
I will also say that good people make me want to talk about stuff more too. You know,
and that was why I came out and I'm like,
yeah,
take it or leave it.
Yeah, like there's a lot of good stuff out there that just doesn't have a name on it. That if you ask me, I'll tell you it's good, but I don't feel compelled to talk further about it. But when I know that there is a good soul behind something, I feel a certain way about sharing that. Before you mentioned that you could just sit back and let Compound Solutions do the talking if you so wanted to, but Compound Solutions is also a company that I feel strongly about. Matt Titlow is like one of my favorite people in this industry, especially after learning about his philosophy on the ingredients that he chooses to use. It's not about performance. It's about human, making the human body better, and the way he gives back with planting trees and stuff. Those kinds of people, like, there's a lot of other ingredient providers. There's a reason I still care about these people specifically, you know. And I don't have a business relationship with Compound or Matt at all. So
I'll that.
It means a lot to me when people, like, there's good people, you know. Like, we were talking about Axe and Sledge before this call, like, just like good dudes. Like, I want to shout it from the rooftops.
Yep. And I'll tell you this: I plugged Matt onto my near infrared imaging machine at University of South Florida, and he took my product, and we were doing an energy drink study. I won't name the brand, but what we proved in my preclinical study of about 7 patients. It wasn't statistically significant. We didn't have a protocol written formally, and we didn't submit an IRB, which is why it wasn't published. But I was looking, I was seeking, and I got what I found what I was looking for. I proved my hypothesis. And when we're doing this study, we're looking at vitals, and Matt's plugged up to the machine. He's got the base 06. He's going, and they're like, all right, try to think of a deeply disturbing, your biggest fear. And he's like, Nickerson chasing me with a fucking axe.
Oh man.
I laughed my ass off, but I said, Matt, you're one of the only people in the world that will never not only have to worry about that, but I'm a fucking chained pit bull for you, dude. Like, if you told me to go attack, I'm not going to ask you who, when, how, like, I don't care. Like, if he tells me go, it's on. And that's my loyalty to Matt. I've made it very clear that that's my loyalty to Matt. Because he and I went through something most people never do. And in that time of 2019, as we were going through, because I do have to remind myself and other people, I did not get sued. Compound Solutions got sued over my product. And that may sound like it's splitting hairs, but legally, those are millions of miles apart.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so when my brother got attacked over my brand, I bled. And it broke my heart. And the easy thing that could have happened was I sue Matt, or Matt sues me, and now we're at each other's throats, and that sees Snoop gets it. Like, but that never happened. Yeah. And it never happened because that guy knows, like, dude, I would never hurt you, I would never lie to you. Not only that, but like, brother, I'm so deeply in your corner for making my dreams come true. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you. So if you ever, like, I'm telling you, I'm your guy. Whatever you need from me, you've got. Now, and it's as simple as that. So Matt knows, like, dude, I love you to the moon and back, and I would never harm you. And I will always work hard to make sure you're never harmed again. So I've told Snoop this before. One of the things I plan on doing is bringing all of us together, going to San Diego, getting together at Compound in Carlsbad, California, and making a good day of it. We're going to get into the casting couch. That's right. We're going to go on the casting couch, Jacob. I see you, buddy. We're gonna oil Jacob up. It'll be great. Get on there, throw that wife beater off, rip it off like Hulk Hogan. We'll just start interviewing Tibbo, making you.
Honestly, I'm already tempted right now. So
the whole hole in the protein jug thing. Like when you said that, I was like, it's gonna be Jacob. Jacob's gonna jump on that. Like he's like I can. Yeah.
I've already got it figured out, dude. I'm telling you, I know how I want this.
Yeah, try and stop me.
Honestly, that's the best marketing campaign TMS is going to have in its corner.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen the classic Gaspari ad with the best box in the industry?
Do I want to?
So this is like the funny thing. Like I was around for like the last couple years of the old guard, so like I had to deal with the awkwardness and the weird shit out there. But there's like a very famous ad that Gaspari did back in the day, and they redid it a couple years ago. I forget which illicit drug it was that they were selling, but they put the box of this, like I think it was Halodrol, in between this girl's legs on the floor, and it was like the best box in the industry, and it was like. But I was thinking we could recreate that ad with Jacob with a jug in between his legs. It's like the best jugs in the industry or something like that.
I'm telling you, dude, the sky's the limit, because that's what happens when you have creative people, dude. And I don't remember who made the comment, but I think it was Jake of AS. He's got El Jefe.
ASC.
Yeah, that's the one. And he's like, oh my God. The segment and the promo video that Jacob created, Snoop's segment had everyone dying. And I'm not naming the name, but it had everyone dying, dude. And I said, I'm telling you, when these two fuckers get together and put their heads together, dude, it's on.
Well, so he can tell you as soon as like he'll say something in the store, my eyes start just routing to the protein jugs or something, and I'm like, all right, it's on.
Well, and the funny part about that is like, so Jacob has this great like creative mind, right? And then like if I'm the type where if you kind of like plant that seed in me, my brain goes some fucked up places. Like I won't get there first, but if you like are like Justin, like go down this road, I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, he gets in character
that's
too.
Good on
I
that.
mean, man.
So
you with the what was it?
Some bitch
said TNS was the best.
Oh, the Predator one.
You were in so much character that I was jealous.
Oh, dude.
You know what's funny?
Even with the accent, dude, you had the accent going and everything. It was amazing.
That came together in like 15 fucking seconds. Like that's what
I believe it.
I don't understand. Like Jacob's like, so we're gonna recreate Predator. I'm like, all right, cool. So sit down. We do the whole thing. It took like 30 seconds, and I was like, but then like, so he came up with it, edits it all up and stuff like that. But he'll just team me up sometimes, and my brain goes to a dark place, and then it just ends up some funny stuff, man. He's unbelievable, though.
No, man. Well, I mean, it makes me that much more excited for December too, for all of us to get together. Because you imagine,
and that's the best part. It's not about throwing money at something. It's not about gimmicks. It's about entertainment. I've said many times, I'm like, do you know what Instagram is? And most people can't answer my loaded question, but I'm like, no one's on Instagram to be invisible. Because I've had people before send me direct messages like, thank you so much for your likes, dude. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Are you insane? I'm like, of course I'm gonna like, if I like your shit, I'm gonna like your shit. I'm no better than you. I'm not super special. Let's keep it simple, okay? Like, we're all the same and we're all good. You put up something that was cool and I loved it. So let's have some fun with that. But I think people they're yet to understand that Instagram is a tool that you can have fun with. Some of these big accounts, and I remember when I was small and I was first coming up, I'd look at these accounts and I'm like, holy shit, man, they've got 15,000 followers. Right. They've got 20,000 followers, dude, what? And I think, fuck, they must be world famous. This is insane.
Yeah, they buy them.
And that's just it. And I'm like, it's all kind of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And yet you do things that people buy into, you entertain, you create, you just make original, fun, silly, self-deprecating content. Next thing you know, you've got people giving a shit what you have to say. And that's what I'm telling you. I'm like, Jacob, TNS, dude, that's just part of what the fuck your magic is. And when I saw your Predator skit and I've seen the other content that you've done, I'm like, I already know what I want to do with these guys. Everyone's heard the whole 2 girls in a cup thing. I'm like, we're doing 5 dudes in a tub. And we're going to get the protein tub and reach on in. Oh, your hands are cold. Something stupid.
Let's see how far we can push it without getting moderated.
Bingo.
Hit that. Let's hit the finest threshold possible. Although I've been close. Like, I got completely butt naked and walked across the parking lot one time and blurred everything.
That's good. And that's the creativity that you just have to have fun with it, man. You can't buy it. You have to make something that people want to share. Yep. And honestly, like, the easiest thing for me to do is make fun of what a dumbass I am on Instagram all the time. And
I think the best
self-deprecating humor.
The ones where you were answering questions that weren't actually asked to yourself. That shit was the best.
Bag interviews, dude.
Oh my god, that was the best thing ever. And like,
that was pretty good.
I went back and rewatched those stories multiple times.
Yeah.
And I'll do more of them. And I meant to do more. I all the time I mean to do more. And by the way, this also speaks to the magic of what Snoop does, because I'm like, holy shit, dude. How long has it been since you didn't do a Q&A?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, the guy can do it every day. He does it every day. But dude, it is exhausting. And I'm like, I don't have the energy. It's not even the time. It's the energy to just be like, all right, let's go.
I think I did a 15-day streak, and I was like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. This is insane.
I can't do it, dude. I'll tell you, I haven't even tried. I do one, and I'm like, fuck, I need 45 days detox minimum. That was a lot. That just gutted me. And, and the guy's been going hard. Since I've been following him, since they've introduced the Q&A.
Yeah.
And I was like, nobody's utilized that new IG function better than Snoop. Nobody. Because people always they tell him, like, well, why don't you give away free trials and this and that? I'm like, go to his page and ask him a question. You can do it for free. There's your trial. There's all you need. Go watch his stories. Everything you want for free is there. And now that you've bought into that, go pay for the subscription. That's all there is to it. But what more can the guy give you? He gives you his entire fucking day.
Matt, you made an interesting point. I don't really know if you did, but when you were talking about people, you're like, wow, this guy must be famous. You said 15 or 20,000 followers, and I think a lot of people in this industry be like, 15,000 followers is nothing. GNC's branding team won't even talk to me because I have less than 30. And what I think is really cool is that like all of us don't have that ridiculous followings. Is something happening that I need to know why we're laughing? Because I'm getting nervous from the laughing.
No, sorry. I'm sorry. The
comment section.
Normally I can look at them alone and just kind of chuckle to myself.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just making sure that nothing weird is happening.
No, my apologies.
Because last week the chat got weird, like weird.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And so what's really cool is that like we kind of all, not that we're like not successful, but we kind of have like micro groups of people. Like we're all under 20,000 here, but instead of being sad about that, we really own that. Like we don't need 100,000 followers to do really well. We make a better community out of it, and it's kind of cool because there's a lot of negativity over like, oh, you don't have 100,000 followers, but we've all really shown you don't need 100,000 followers to be really influential. Just this podcast itself. To be fair, there's 20,000 subscribers on the channel that we're on right now, but like just this podcast has made some serious fucking waves in the industry.
I'm telling you, it's when I was asked to be a part of it, I was incredibly honored because I want to be able to contribute to something I genuinely believe in as something special and unique. And I think these things are important. And today's a good conversational discussion. I don't see this in any way, shape, or form as an interview. Not for me, not from either one of you or to either one of you. But today's a fun conversation. And you know what? Next week may not be. You guys might have to tackle hard topics that nobody wants to talk about, but you're going to do it. Yeah. And that's how you keep things moving forward, is you bring in the right personalities. And we have access to all of them, dude. There's 0 degrees of separation who we want to talk to in this industry that we have access to. And so this particular platform matters for a number of different reasons, just because communication is everything. And that's why, again, the Q&A piece of Instagram is so important, because you can directly connect with people every day, not just in a DM format, but the whole there's no such thing as a stupid question. He has people that are afraid to ask him questions, one, because he's blunt sometimes, and he may answer in a way that they're not ready to receive. But if somebody asks the same question and he answers it, they're like, fuck, thank God. Like, I don't have to answer it, but now I know because he did. And so it's all about communication in this industry and driving it forward.
Well, what's funny about this, so just take this group of us here together. So, Ben and I, we've talked about collaborating on something for years, right? I mean, we've known each other it's been a few years. So timing, whatever's going on. So, Matt, you and I met separately. Mm-hmm. I started using Base 06 and I loved it. And that's what I tell people. I was like, yes, I'm a huge supporter of Matt, but I was a supporter of the ingredient first, right? Because I used it and I was like, well, fuck me. This is what's going on here. I really like this. And then I met Matt. So we're over here having our conversation. I'm over here having a conversation with Ben. I've known Ben for a long time. Meanwhile, Ben tells me, he's like, dude, you got to meet Jacob. He's like, this guy, he's at the nutrition store. You gotta like meet him sometime. And I'm like, okay, cool. You're just kind of doing your thing. And then, fast forward and here we are. Like,
how many times do I tell you, like, you made an announcement the other day and I'm like, she's one of mine. That's amazing. Yeah. and then I'll tell him, I'm like, holy shit, I got more Snoop people on my page now. Yeah. I'm like, our brands are growing together because it's all the like-minded people driving it forward in a positive direction. And that's why I'm serious, dude. This podcast is a big deal. And it really is a big deal. The industry needs it. People want the information flowing to them. And they also want to see that people that can affect certain things are doing certain things to make sure that they get what they deserve.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool topic. And I actually think it's kind of interesting. We've had a lot of really fun podcasts. And I almost feel like the mission of this podcast, or the timeline of this podcast, very soon we're going to have a serious one. where we have to sit down and like I don't know. It's honestly what I really feel. I think there's going to be ones coming up where we talk about some hard topics. It's been a lot of our friends, but I also think that soon we're going to have to. I mean, if we want to be the sirs, if we want to set the pace, set the tone for the industry, soon we're going to have a talk publicly with someone that we want to talk about some serious stuff. And I'm very excited for that because I think we've really established. If you just look at our chat, like we have established a base following that will watch no matter who or what we're with, which is really cool. We've had some other offerings where like Dan from Ghost brought on his 20,000 however many text messages, or Glaxon brought a pretty big crowd. But I think that we have a really cool thing here. I'm excited to tackle some serious topics too.
They're coming. It's all coming because the best part about all this, there's an ebb and flow to it. There's a natural, organic flow to it. And now we've given it a platform. Not we. I'm invited as a guest. You guys gave it a platform, and that's what Jesus, Snoop and I always go back to Snoop, but he's on the tech side. Like he's developed a tech that invites people in. Jacob will forget more tech than I'll ever learn in my life. Like the guy would blow. I'm telling you. So it's ridiculous. As I said before this started, I'm the dumbest fuck on this meeting right now.
Nonsense, man.
But the platform has been created for an open venue. And it might even be interesting if we extend an open invite every so often for touchy, controversial topics like who wants to talk about TRT? Who wants to talk about steroids and bodybuilding? Like, it's a topic that is so taboo. It's a topic that's so taboo, but I'm like, but it should be.
To talk about TRT.
We talked about it with John Meadows pretty heavily. We talked about insulin usage with John Meadows, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But it's good to put a light on that subject. It's good to have those types of discussions because many people have those questions. They're afraid to. In fact, some of the people and they're customers of mine, some of the people I love most, fucking Jeff Long, Snoop, like, is there anyone more blunt? Like, that guy doesn't hold back shit. Like, you can ask him whatever he wants. He's like, fuck yeah, I'm on gear. Like, this is what it looks like. Yeah. And you're not going to look like me just because you take it. You have to kill yourself. And so a lot of people understand what it is, but it's this deep, dark secret. And I'm like, look, man, I'm not judging you. You be your best version of whomever you want that to be. I was talking to all of our friend Nate recently. Nate is just one of the best videographers I've ever worked with. Mm-hmm. And it makes me happy to see Nate finally in this circle because I invited Nate out to go train with me at Muscle Farm, and he's the one that shot that video. And I'm like, I'm telling you, dude, you are going to be the guy in this industry to capture this industry. And what we were talking about is Waldron. And though I don't know Chris as well as the rest of you, I love the guy. And what I love most about the guy, and what Nate was saying, he's like, who more than Chris fucking elevates all these other brands, all these other people that are building their companies, their startup companies. Chris is saying, fucking call me, text me, DM me. I want to help you grow. Mm-hmm. He makes himself so available to this industry to get these young, Snoop said this, and I've always loved him for it. He's like, dude, we've got like 23-year-old CEOs, 20-year-old CEOs. And many of them don't know at all what the fuck they're doing. They haven't a clue. They think, ingredient panel, lead shaker.
No, I mean, like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and so he's like, we've got these guys that are now gaining access to somebody that has a legitimate brand and it's going in a good direction, and he wants to help build and establish other brands. And I remember looking at just a post recently, not too long ago, and it was Chris just applauding Corey of Out and Fit. And by the way, that's one of the few people that is most certainly on my watch list. He does great shit the right way. Yeah. Corey's a rising star. And with someone like, I like the fact that Corey and Chris are in the same orbit and they're doing things the same way, because Chris is like, dude, I love your label. I thought it read this. When I realized it read this, it was even more dope. He's like, this is really badass. Yeah. And so Chris it just makes me happy that Chris is the guy that could take that road of, I'm a little too big for you kind of thing. Many people do, but he makes himself available.
Well, and one thing about Chris too, sorry, Ben, I just what I think is really cool about Chris is he'll outright tell you, I didn't used to be this way and I was wrong. Yeah. Like, I didn't used to be like that. He goes, I was wrong. He's like, and I see that there's a better way to do things now. He's like, and I'm much more rewarded for it.
You know what's really funny is like, so I don't mean to flex on you guys, but I've known Chris for like a lot of years. Like I met him like when he was that other person, and we stopped talking because he was that person, and we had conflicting camps on each other, unfortunately. And when I met him again, it was proxied through Mike with Price Wow, and I said to Mike, I was like, I really don't know if he's gonna want to talk to me. I'll be honest with you, like I'm just. I don't hate the guy, but I don't know if he's gonna want to talk to me because of the person he was. And he was like very upfront, like, "Hey, things are different," you know. And it was really cool. But one of the things I love about Chris, and this is very new guard, is that there's been this like old thing in the industry of like people who consult or help other brands. It's always been secret. And Chris is like loud and proud about it, and he uplifts those other brands, you know. And it's always been like, oh, like that's that guy that formulates for other brands, or he designs labels, but he won't tell you anything. And it's super old guard, old boys club. It's like, fuck that. I did something cool with some cool people, and I want everyone to know about it. I'm going to use my channel and my community to show that. And it's something like I love that about Justin. Like you're pretty open when you talk about people that you work with, and it's like uplifting and it's helpful, and there's no shame about it. You know, it's not wrong to say, you know, I have a business affiliation with these people, but they're good people, and I want to elevate them. And it's very new guard. I'm happy about it.
Yeah,
it's the way it's supposed to be. Give me a beer.
It was like
Wow.
Anyways, guys, what I was saying. It's all about making people feel good and treat them nice in the right way. Thanks. And,
if that's not the intro for the promo, Jacob, I'm going to be really disappointed.
Oh no, I've got one. I've got You're Not the One He Wants. It's going to be an epic one.
Okay.
So. Matt,
but, we're not taking notes, right?
Got my text, man. I kind of drew up a Superman label for you, since your story involves Superman. But yeah.
Oh man.
You know what? The newspapers called it faster than a speeding bullet. How corny is that shit? When the story got out about the whole Superman, like they're like, oh, faster than a speeding bullet.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yep. So that was fun.
Guys, I do need to sign off relatively soon. I'll be honest, it's been 2 hours.
All right. So Matt, so you mentioned how like 2019 was a brutal year. We don't have to dive into that. So now as you're sort of kind of coming out of this, there was a huge positive sort of thing that's happened. We got the Christmas party coming up in December. 2021 is going to be a pretty exciting year for you. Or the end of 2020 into 2021. How are you feeling just in general about the direction of just everything, man? After everything, you know, and now sort of coming out of the fog a little bit, and I'm excited for you, so I just kind of want to hear maybe where you're at.
Well, it's a neat thing because I would share all the time, and like I would say often, like, what happened in my life? I genuinely didn't understand, like, what happened in my life. One minute, people want to talk to me and collaborate with me and do business with me, and the next minute, I'm being unfollowed and I'm being ignored, and I've got the scarlet letter, and I couldn't. You're the worst, and I'm being completely just shut out of what used to be ordinary, normal, organic interactions. And so seeing people come back after due process has taken place, or maybe they've understood that what happened shouldn't have happened, it gives me tremendous optimism. I like that people have come back and they're talking to me again. And I'll give you an example, Doug Miller. I'm no longer in their peak product, but to learn that I'm now in America Labs A-Bomb.
I was super excited when I saw that. I was like, fuck yes.
It choked me up. And I'm not even exaggerating, bro, because I understand why companies were moving me, because they didn't want to be sued. And nobody wants to go through what I went through.
Right.
And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But fuck, I was like, is it because of the lawsuit or because they believed in? And that's the shit that broke me up. And I'm like, I can't stand the idea for anyone to think I just ever lied to them, that I ever cheated them, and anything. So when A-Bomb announced that when when it was announced that A-Bomb is putting me in, or Miracle Labs is putting me in A-Bomb, excuse me, I was super thrilled. I was like, I can't even believe that I'm finally kind of full circle with this whole situation. Because when you're in the middle of it, dude, I'm telling you, you think it'll never end. And so that's a big one. So I like the fact that people aren't afraid to talk about it anymore. They're not afraid to market it anymore. They're not afraid to whistle about it anymore. And truth be told, I had 3 different human performance studies, one coming out of Auburn, one coming out of the University of Southern Alabama. And they would have all been published by now, if not for the COVID situation. And that shut down all my labs. I couldn't put patients in seats. And so that said, I can't wait to get my studies back up and launched. They're already starting to happen again. And so with the new data drops that I'm going to be doing, with the new markets that I'm going to be doing, I may or may not be launching my own. Well, there's plenty of time to talk about that. But I've got some really neat shit in front of me. I've got some really neat people that want to work with me. And it's just a night and day situation. And that's why I like staying deeply immersed in these communities, because it's like I told my family, I'm like, you want to know why I'm going to South Carolina? Because those are the people that stood with me when I was getting fucking wrecked every day.
Hell yeah.
That's why I'm going to South Carolina. I was like, I'm going to go stand shoulder to shoulder with the people that have my back at a time when no one else did.
And it's going to be a damn good time. So, aside from that.
Unquestionably, I'm telling you, it's going to be ridiculous. And I'm serious, dude. You've created a monster, bro, because there's the Olympias and the Arnolds and all this and that and the other, but everyone's going to know, like, fucking Jacob's throwing a party in December, dude. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a thing.
That's how I want it presented, too. Like, you've got the Arnold, the Olympia, and then one day it's like, dude, Jacob's throwing a fucking party.
I know where I'm going.
Everyone knows when Dan throws a party at Olympia, when Dan throws a party, everyone knows the ghost after party's stupid.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
It is dumb.
And so I'm just letting you know, you're creating something special. It's going to get a lot of momentum behind it. I know I'm going to throw my weight behind it. I know Snoop's throwing his, Ben's throwing his, and it's only going to get bigger. And it's all about bringing people together. Is the best part is everyone knows that going into it. Everyone's buying into the fact that this is about community and growth and happiness and positivity, and that's why they're going to show up, and that's why it's going to keep growing. So whether you know it or not, you're building something bigger and maybe you do. Maybe you know exactly what you're doing, but it's got momentum, and you've got their attention, and I'm proud to contribute, and I'm honored to be invited.
Well, thank you, man. My head's not going to fit out of this door now, but
you deserve it, dude. You deserve it.
That, man. Thank you. I know Ben's got to run, so we'll probably go ahead and wrap it up on the recording side of things.
Good night, chat number.